Up next, we're going to be doing a walk around on this 2019 Yamaha Kodiak EPS SE, so stick around. Welcome to Rough Riders, I'm Jay Taylor. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at this 2019 Kodiak EPS SE. So if you followed my channel, seen my other videos, you know that my wife and I used to have a 2017 Yamaha YXZ side-by-side. We sold that when we moved to Colorado due to space limitations, and so I was able to go out and find a deal on a bike. I picked up a YZ250F, and that left my wife without anything to ride on the trail. So we've been searching and searching and searching, and we got a really good deal on this Kodiak. So I thought in this video we'd just do a quick walk around of it and take a look at some of the features and functions, and give you guys an overview of this bike. So let's take a look. So we got a great deal on this. We bought it from a retired gentleman who used it basically to put around his property and get his mail and stuff like that. So it never really saw any serious trail time, never even went through a puddle of water in it. So this is a 2019. It's got 167 hours on the motor, but only 400 or so miles on the engine. So a lot of times just kind of sitting there warming up and everything. That's where a lot of the hours come from. Very, very low use. Not a scuff or scratch on it. It's powered by a 421cc single piston engine, so it's not going to be the beast on the trail. It's not going to take you 60 miles an hour down an open road, but it's got more than enough power to handle any sort of trails and hills that you might throw at it. Looking at the gauge cluster, you've got gear indicators here, so park, reverse, and neutral. It does not tell you that you're in high or low, which would be a nice feature to add, I think, but you know, we'll have to live without it, I guess. Then on the right hand side, you've got things like your temperature warning, EPS, and four-wheel drive and things like that. Then you've got your fuel gauge here on the left, your odometer, which actually cycles through, and then obviously the big zero is your speed. And so as I cycle through, there's my odometer at 399 miles. There's my trip at 0.9 miles. And then the service indicator at 100.7. And then 168.4 hours on the motor total. So that's kind of what you get with the gauge cluster. You have on-the-fly selectable two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, so unlike other rides, you don't have to actually come to a complete stop in order to put it in four-wheel drive. You can do that on the fly. That was the same with our YXZ, and so it's a very, very nice feature to not have to come to a complete stop before you drop it into four-wheel drive. So looking forward to that. Yamaha's made a really big thumb throttle here, so that you can grab it from a number of different, or reach it from a number of different, places on the grip. So whether you got big hands, small hands, it gives you a nice big thumb throttle there. Up front, you got a front differential that's driving each wheel for four-wheel drive. Then you've also got independent suspension up front with disc brakes. As I mentioned, the front brakes are hydraulic disc, and so you got a little oil window there to make sure you got brake fluid. The backs are cabled. Now where the front had disc brakes on each corner, the back brakes is a single wet drum multi-disc brake. Now this is not a traditional drum brake that you might see on a trailer or anything like that. This is a specifically designed as a wet brake, which means that there are multiple discs in this box right here that are bathed in oil, so they're always wet. That has a number of actual advantages. One, because you got multiple discs in there, you have more surface area for friction to stop the bike, and because they're bathed in oil, they're always cool. So you don't have to worry about them heating up and getting brake fade or anything like that. Furthermore, if you submerge the bike and go into puddles and ponds and all of that kind of stuff, this is completely sealed, so it never gets water inside there, so your back brakes are always going to work. Whereas if you had a drum brake or even disc brakes, once they're in water, you lose the friction and you lose your stopping power. So this design has been around for years and years and years. Comes over from the farming industry, where they've got very heavy braking loads, and so that's why Yamaha chose this design. At first, I thought it was going to be a limitation of the bike, but the more research I've done on it, this is actually a really good design for off-road use type applications, especially ones where you're going through mud puddles and water and all of that kind of stuff. I had originally wanted disc brakes all the way around, and I kind of some of me still wants that because they're easy to change and all of that kind of stuff. But these things have almost no maintenance. You don't have to do anything on them, so that should be cheaper in the long run. But obviously, if you do need to work on them, then you've got to pull that whole differential. So a little bit of pros and cons to that particular design. In the rear, you've also got an independent suspension, so you don't have a solid axle. You've got a rear final drive driving each wheel independently. You've also got the shocks on each corner are 5-way adjustable, so you can really dial the ride in to get a really plush ride. You've also got a standard receiver for hitch mounts and all of those kinds of things. For the transmission, unlike a geared transmission, this is a CVT transmission. This is Yamaha's Ultramatic design, so there is a belt behind this panel, and from the research I've done, Yamaha's Ultramatic transmission has been around a long time. It's a really reliable design. They actually give you a 10-year warranty on the belt, so it should be a really good design. I've also been told that one of the benefits of Yamaha's transmission is engine braking. It's supposed to be the best out there. Like when you're going down hills and stuff, you can drop this thing in low and it will just crawl down the hill. So it's supposed to be really good engine braking, where you barely have to use the brakes at all. In conjunction with the Ultramatic transmission, you've got a gear selector which has low, high, neutral, reverse, and park. And so there's no shifting or anything like that other than just putting it in gear and going. The engine is water cooled, so you do have a radiator on this thing, and it's well protected, hidden up front behind the grate, but it still gets plenty of airflow to keep the bike cool. Up front, you've got 3 lights. You've got 2 of your regular running lights, and then you've got a handlebar light. That's your high beam. While it does not come with a winch, there is a mounting plate there for a winch, and they've also run all the electrical wiring and stuff, so wiring in a winch is going to be really easy. Because this is a special edition, it does come with aluminum wheels and some, cheap CST tires, I guess is what the brand is. These things are really soft. They're only 2-ply. They're supposed to be 4-ply rated, but they're just really soft, so we're going to probably swap those out. For overall ground clearance, we've got about 10 inches in the back and about 9 3/4 up front. I'll list the specs posted by Yamaha, but when I measured it, that's what it came out to be, about 9 3/4 up front and right about 10 in back. It does come with 2 racks. The front rack, both of them are metal, and they've got a powder coating on them, a textured powder coating on them. And the front rack you can load up to about 88 pounds, and the rear rack you can load up to 176 pounds. So plenty of weight. One of the big drawbacks on this bike is there's really no storage at all. You got a little bit of storage under the seat, and that was it. So we did go up and pick up a bag. That's that bag that we just put on the back. And so I'll do a separate video on that bag, but that certainly gives us a lot more room to carry stuff with us on the trail. Okay, so I think the walk around covered most of the technical specifications of the bike. I think I missed the weight, which is 650 pounds, and the width, which is 46 inches or so, and the length, I think it was right around 71. It's basically about the length of the bed of my truck, so it actually fits perfectly. I can actually fit this and my bike in the back of the truck, which surprised me because I wasn't expecting that to happen. Really excited about that, because that means now I can haul my trailer out, I can haul the bike out, I can haul the quad out and go camping and riding and all of that. So we plan on doing a lot of that kind of stuff. But let's talk about some of the pros and cons of the bike. So first off, the 421 cc motor. Yamaha puts that in the 450 class. It's, obviously not a 450, but it still has plenty of power to scoot down the trail, to climb up those hills and stuff like that. You throw it out in four-wheel drive and it'll mount and go up, pretty much most of the hills. Based upon a lot of the research I've done, this thing can go pretty much anywhere. So as terms of power delivery, the power delivery is really, really smooth. So when I took it for a test drive and all of that kind of stuff before we bought it, I laid on that throttle and it was just a very linear sort of power curve. So very, very mild, very, very smooth. That's not to say that it's underpowered, because I don't think it is for most things. But this isn't the beast that's gonna, take you down the trail at 60 some odd miles an hour. I think the fastest on my test drive I got up to was just right about 45. I think there was a little bit more room on it to go a little bit faster, but not a whole lot. It's not going to be a bike that does wheelies and stuff like that. It's not super torquey. It's got enough low-end grunt to be able to do the hill climbs, but it's not like, you jump on and that front end's going to kind of float right up. I can do that with my bike, obviously. You can't do that with this. If that's what you're looking for, you should probably be looking at the 700 or something higher, like the Can-Am 1000s or something, right? The fact that it doesn't have diff lock is disappointing. I would have liked it to have diff lock, but it's not a deal breaker. We had diff lock on the YXZ, and I think in the 3 years we owned that, we probably used it maybe twice. I don't think diff lock is going to be a deal breaker. It would be just a nice to have for this. Knowing my wife and the type of rider she is, we're not going to get into any situations where we really need diff lock anyway. So, that's, I guess you could say that's a con, but not a huge one, at least for us. The brake system, like I said, I really wanted it to have disc brakes on all four corners. The more research I've done into this wet brake architecture, that actually sounds like it's going to be beneficial. Like I said, the fact that it's sealed, so I don't have to worry about water. So if you go into some deep water and stuff like that, your brakes are still going to work. The fact that it's a multi-disc surface, you've got a lot more braking surface there, so it will actually stop the bike faster than disc brakes, obviously, especially in wet conditions. And the fact that it's oil bath means that those brakes are never going to get hot. That the braking system is submersed in oil, and therefore, because it's part of that rear differential or that final drive, it's always got oil in it, so that always is going to help dissipate any sort of heat buildup and friction from the friction. So lots of beneficial design to that architecture, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Now, part of me still wants it to have disc brakes, just because disc brakes are easy to change and all of that sort of thing. But from the research, these wet brake architectures, very, very, very low maintenance. Comes over from the farm industry and stuff like that, and so these things are designed to last a really, really long time. So, that could be a plus or a minus depending on how you want to look at it. The storage is probably the biggest drawback that I found. There is like no storage. It's a small little container or a box about this big and about this deep underneath the seat, and so you really have to work out something for a storage solution. So we put the bag on back. We're going to probably get some fender bags as well, just so we can carry a little bit more stuff. But you absolutely need to do something about the storage, because this just doesn't have any. So there you go. There's an overview, a quick look at the pros and cons. We'll get a better feel for this once we get it out on the trail more, and I can get some time behind the bars on this thing and really put it through its paces, at least when my wife will let me. we're pretty excited. So stay tuned for more videos on this bike as we do some upgrades. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a winch install on this thing. I'll do a review of that bag that we just put on there, and the fender bags that we're going to put on order, and some of the other things that we're planning to do to this thing. But hopefully that you've enjoyed the content. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. And we'll see you here next time on Rough Riders. Thanks for watching.